Welcome to a brief whole class feedback on your Reformation and Tudor Consolidation quiz. There were just a few things I wanted to first of all highlight and praise, and then just a couple of misconceptions I wanted to deal with. But overall, Year 7, you did exceptionally well on this quiz. Really, really well done. Your knowledge, your understanding was clearly demonstrated by many of you, and I am very, very impressed. And I know I speak on behalf of the whole history department when I say that. You clearly know your stuff about why people were angry at the Catholic Church to begin with, why this prompted religious changes within the Catholic Church, and why this ultimately led to what is called the Reformation, who the role of Martin Luther was in all of this, who the role of Henry VIII, Edward VI, and Mary I were in all of this. Crucially, the effects of this change on England as well. You did exceptionally well, Year 7, in terms of explaining quite a difficult historical event that had really quite catastrophic and hugely long-lasting changes on the church for many people. So really well done. Exceptional work. And of course, there are many people I could have highlighted here in terms of achievement, but I just wanted to draw upon the work of Ellie May and Katie McCluskey, who offered some really detailed answers in their quiz. They went above and beyond what was expected of them in their quiz. So really well done, girls. However, there was just a few misconceptions I wanted to tackle. Namely, a lot of people put the wrong spelling of 95 theses. And it's important that we know that thesis with an I is singular, theses with an E is plural. So 95 of them makes it a theses, not just one thesis. So just be careful with the spelling of that. But a lot of you, crucially, knew the history of it. You knew that this is what Martin Luther wrote down his criticisms in, and he pinned to the church in Wittenberg. So I'm really proud of you in that respect, but we just need to make sure that our spelling is correct too. Now, there was also just a few things in regards to this idea of speeding up and slowing down the Reformation and which monarch did what, because a few people got Edward and Mary the wrong way round. So let's just kind of unpick that a bit, what it means to speed up and to slow down. So we were looking at the Reformation, this huge religious change whereby we have the birth of the Church of England. We have, Henry VIII deciding that actually he's no longer going to listen to the authority of the Pope and the Catholic Church. He is going to be his own authority and head up his own church in England. And then in sort of mainland Europe, you have changes going on under Martin Luther, where you have the birth of new forms of religion, new forms of the Protestant religion, which is still an aspect of Christianity, but is different to Catholicism. So you have the birth of new religions coming up in this time, and we call this the Reformation. So Edward was an extreme Protestant. So under him, the religious changes that were going under his father were hugely sped up under him. He was the one who was really pushing for the changes in the church appearance, the changes in how services were run. He really accelerated the rise of Protestantism in England. Okay, Henry started it off with the closing of the monasteries and the selling of church lands and the sort of stripping back of Catholic churches and getting rid of all the ornaments, because we know that in a Protestant church it is far plainer, far simpler. So Henry began this, but Edward, even during his very short reign, really accelerated these changes because he was a really strong and really fierce Protestant. However, Mary was a Catholic. Mary wanted to reverse these changes in the church. She wanted to reverse these changes in terms of people not following the Pope's authority. She wanted to go back to what England had been like for hundreds of years prior to the 1530s, when all these changes were happening under Henry. So she tried to bring it all to a stop. Remember, she had the mass killing of Protestants. She banned Protestant preachers. She tried to, as I say, improve relations with the Pope and try and kind of get back the land that had been sold off, but this proved very difficult. She tried to appoint a Catholic archbishop. She tried to desperately go back to where England had once been, but because the force of the changes under Edward and Henry had been so powerful and virulent and strong, Mary really struggled to kind of make a real difference in terms of getting the Catholic kind of power back. She did get something, and she did try, and we know that a lot of people lost their lives in her reign, but crucially, she slowed it down because she was a Catholic. She did not want to see the increase in power of the Church of England. And what is really interesting is when you see Elizabeth I, the monarch after Mary, she is really interesting in how she tries to be kind of halfway between the two. She doesn't try to fiercely kind of increase Protestant changes, but she doesn't try to decrease in them either. You know, she tries to find a middle way between keeping the Protestants happy and the Catholics happy, because it's not like the Catholics all just went away. You know, they'd had a bit of a resurgence under Mary, but it's true that the Protestants were now obviously really quite a powerful force. So, crucially, during the reigns of these different Tudors, you see an increase in changes and a decrease in changes happening. And finally, during Elizabeth I, they are settled. And you have kind of these sort of, I don't know, 10 years of real kind of 20 years of really sort of up and down changes, especially between Edward and Mary, from a really fierce Protestant to a really fierce Catholic. And thankfully, though, with Elizabeth, it all calms down a bit. But overall, Year 7, you've done exceptionally well with all of this. And this is me just kind of pushing you on even further to make your answers and ideas even stronger. But overall, great work, keep it up, and any questions at all, direct them at me or direct them at your teachers. Thank you. Bye.